What is up, Card family, Cowboy fans? What is going on? What's today? Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody is well. This is what it's come to, and I've done videos in the car before, but I'm that busy that literally I haven't had time to make videos. I haven't had time to really comment on what's going on with the Cowboys these days. I do have some cards. I haven't had a chance to show any cards, but while I had a minute this morning on the way to work, a lot has happened in the world of the Cowboys in the off season so far, and I just wanted to comment on a little of it. First off, everybody knows over the weekend Amari Cooper was traded to the Browns for a 5th round pick, and then the team swapped 6th round, so Dallas moves up a little bit in the 6th round. I want to start this with saying that I made a video earlier in the year talking about Amari's contract and the situation, and I used some numbers that were wrong, and I had one commenter call me out on that, and he's like, man, you're not looking at the right numbers. And what I was saying at the time was the Cowboys didn't save enough by letting go of Amari. And the reason I was saying that is I was getting my numbers from Mike Fisher with Cowboys SI, who he's great. I'm not knocking him, but I got bad information. So in reality, the Cowboys, by trading Cooper, were able to create $16 million in cap space. So did they, a lot of people are looking at this and they're like, man, you traded a 1st for this guy and all you got was a 5th in return. It was a salary dump. In reality, this was a salary dump. This was creating space on your salary cap to be able to afford other players. In reality, it hurt because I really like Amari. Amari was, he's my son's favorite player. He's already said the Browns are going to be his second favorite team now. He's going to start watching the Browns. He's glad they don't play the Cowboys much, that kind of thing. Obviously the Cowboys passing game was struggling so much before Amari got here 3 years ago. And Amari got here and immediately, we went on a run. We became a different team. He had an impact. He's been a no-nonsense guy. He's quiet. He's not one of these diva, in-your-face, loudmouth receivers. So I love the guy. But I will admit, as a Cowboys fan, that Amari sometimes had a tendency to disappear, especially against more physical, better teams. He had great numbers, but he had a tendency to have huge explosions. He'd have these, 200-plus yard, 2-touchdown games that kind of skewed his season numbers. And it's not to say he wasn't, at all consistent. He was good, but he did have some outliers in there where it's like, man, he just didn't show up. And I think he's going to struggle in Cleveland. I think Baker Mayfield is a step down, and I think Amari plays better in a dome. I think he's a better indoor player. But that said, Amari's gone. Created some cap space. The Cowboys almost immediately signed Michael Gallup, and I like it. I'm glad Gallup is staying. I think they got a somewhat friendly deal in that they can get out of this rather easily in a couple years if they want to. I think Gallup's a good receiver. I think the money, maybe a little high given that he's coming off of an ACL. I think the concern is that immediately, CeeDee Lamb is your number one. That's fine. I don't know if he's ready, but CeeDee's your number one. That makes Gallup, your number 2 guy in terms of share of the offense, right? I'm not talking about where they line up on the field. And, I'd say it's optimistic that Gallup is ready for week 1. So that's kind of scary that you could potentially go into week 1 with CD, because Cedric Wilson signed with the Dolphins yesterday. I was really, really hoping to get Cedric back because I really like the three of them as a 1-2-3 punch. I really like Cedric Wilson. Anybody that follows my channel knows I've been on him since he was drafted. Broke out a little bit last year, played a lot more with Gallup being hurt, and hey, I thought he produced. He played well, and he's kind of a gadget player. He can do a lot of different things. He's a good guy to have on your roster. I think he came in at like $6 million a year. To me, he would have been worth it. I think Wilson would have been worth $6 million, but what do I know? I'm just a fan that barely has enough time to make a video. So also, I want to talk about Dalton Schultz. They franchise tag Dalton Schultz. I think they were kind of forced to do that. When Jarwin had his hip surgery, they released Blake Jarwin. They were really left with no options at tight end. Again, I disagree with this one. I like Dalton Schultz. I think tagging him for $11 million is extreme. Now, I do understand that they are hopefully going to work out a deal with him to where he'll hit less on the cap this year, which they've been pretty crafty with moving numbers around in the cap so far this year. So we'll see what happens with that. But to me, Schultz, he's a good tight end. Okay, he's a good tight end. Average at best blocker. He's a check down guy. And I get it. Jason Witten was basically a check down guy, although Witten could get down the seam, and so could Jarwin. But that's what Schultz is he's more of a check down guy. He catches a lot of balls because he's running a lot of hooks and slants and little outs and stuff, and he catches those passes, and he gets a few yards. I don't think that's a very unique skill set. I think that almost any tight end off the street could come in and run 8-yard hooks. I just do. He's got good hands. Not going to knock him. He's a good receiver. I just don't think he's special. I don't think he's $11 million special. I think you could have went on the street and got O.J. Howard or somebody at $4 or $5 million. Your production might drop a little bit, and again, production might drop just because your receiving core isn't going to be what it was. But I think those receivers, Cooper, Gallup, CD Lamb, Cedric Wilson, these guys opened up things underneath for a guy like Schultz. So I think they overpaid, but it'll be good to have him back as a tool in our offense. Big picture, that passing game, where it is right now, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Malik Turner. I don't know if they're going to draft a receiver. I feel like we've gone from wide receiver being this more than a strength. It was just this plethora of options we had at wide receiver where we could withstand injuries to Gallup, losing Cooper and CD for COVID or whatever it might be, a concussion. We could withstand that. Now we're thin. So I don't know. Maybe they draft somebody. I will also say that I'm not so worried about it because in my mind, this team has got to, Kellen Moore has to get it in his head to commit to running the football. You look at the team last year, you look when they got hot, they were running the ball. I think it was like week 2 through 6, they were killing it on the ground. Zeke was healthy, Pollard was complimenting him, ripping off 7, 8, 9 yards a carry. They got to run the football. They got to commit to running the football. The Cowboys were undefeated last year when they ran for over 100 yards. There was the only game they won that they did not run for 100 yards. Just almost watched an accident in front of me. Was the Minnesota game where Cooper Rush started, and I think that game was a little bit of an anomaly. When you think about our offense, the way we played, That game's a little bit of an outlier with a different quarterback. But run the football. They have to. You have the highest paid back in the NFL. What's supposed to be a good offensive line. Got to run the ball. Lastly, a couple other quick things. They signed Demarcus Lawrence last night. 3 years, $30 million guaranteed. Kind of a restructure for him because he had a contract. He was going to hit $27 million against the cap this year. There was no way they were keeping him at that number. He had already come back and said he wasn't taking less, and then they signed this deal, but it guaranteed him more money than the contract he had. So, and it saved the Cowboys $14 million in cap space this year. So it was kind of a win-win for both, and a creative way for the Cowboys to do that. I'm happy with it. I was super impressed with Lawrence last year when he did play. Even when he's not getting sacks, he's an impact player on the edge. He's great against the run. He's making plays in the backfield. He's constantly harassing the quarterback. He's a leader. I think he has a presence in our locker room. So I'm glad he stayed. The other big piece that's still out there right now is Randy Gregory. And supposedly the Cowboys are all in on Gregory. I think I'm one of the few that, and it's funny because I've been a supporter of Gregory over the years. I'm waiting on him to break out. They've hung with him all this time, and you're waiting on him to do something special. And then supposedly last year was his breakout year, which he was solid. He had 6 sacks. He wreaked a lot of havoc. But, I don't know. Is that his ceiling? Is 6 sacks his ceiling? Is he that damn good that he's going to get $20 million a year? I'm worried that the Cowboys are going to overpay this dude. And what I would prefer is, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, and I was not of this thinking until the past month or so. But so Von Miller is out there. I know he's older. I know he's got a lot of tread on his tires. Von Miller, coming off a major injury, playing for 2 different teams last year, had 9.5 sacks. He's a disruptor. He's a presence off the edge, that undoubtedly, he's a leader. He's a winner. He brings a presence to your locker room that I don't think, and I'm not in the locker room. I'm not at the Star every day. From my understanding, Randy Gregory is well liked. To me, what I saw, especially in the playoffs, hell, more than just in the playoffs, he's undisciplined. He sometimes makes questionable decisions in space. So, at $20 million, I don't know, man. Why not go get Von Miller? Now, I was thinking Von Miller was a $10 to $12 million guy. I'm hearing 15, but why not sign him for 1 year? Put him on the other side, opposite opposite Lawrence, and you've got Demarcus Lawrence, Von Miller, and Micah Parsons running around in that front 7, and I think that'd be a pretty nasty combination, and I think you could do it cheaper than you could with Randy Gregory, and you're not doing it long term. So I think you could get Von Miller, just get him in here for a year, or 2. I don't know, I'm not the money guy, but that's just my thoughts on that. In addition, what I'd love to see, I think LVE is gone. I think Van Der Esch is going to walk. There's going to be a team offering him $6 or $7 million a year. The Cowboys aren't going to be able to match that. And I thought he came on last year. He was consistent. I still don't see him being an impact guy. Man, let's get Bobby Wagner in here. Let's commit to winning a damn Super Bowl. Let's get Bobby Wagner in here. So you get Von Miller and Bobby Wagner. Let's draft. After June, let's let Lyle Collins walk. He's a dope. Like the dude is lying, trying to talk people into cheating on his piss test and stuff. Get this dude out the door. He comes in fat, overweight 2 years before. Come on, man. Your job is to stay in shape to play football. You make $10 million a year, and you're coming in fat and overweight, and because of it, you get hurt. Let this dude, trade him. I don't care what you get for him. Trade him, but they have to do that post June 1, or otherwise they eat $15 million. Put Marcus Still at right tackle. Draft a interior lineman. Draft a left guard. Draft a defensive lineman. You're gonna need a wide receiver and somebody else in the secondary. It's tough. There's so many spots to fill. That D tackle is still out there. We need a dominant D tackle. Who doesn't? Who doesn't need a dominant D tackle? But we definitely do. Would love to have a safety back there. You know, Lyle Collins is floating around. Honey Badger's out there. I don't think any of that actually happens, but there is a lot of holes. In the end, they need to get J-Ron Curse signed. In the end, I don't think, with the salary cap, you're gonna perfectly fill every desired need, right? You're just not. You're not gonna have a superstar at every position. You're just not gonna be able to do that. So there's gonna be some weak spots in the armor. There's gonna be some areas that that we don't have the best player, and there always is. But I see a lot of people saying that the Cowboys, they're rebuilding. They're letting all these guys go and they're rebuilding. Sorry, but a team doesn't pay a quarterback $40 million a year during a rebuilding phase. All right, that doesn't happen. That's not what's happening here. You look, they're re-upping guys like Lawrence. They're re-upping guys like Michael Gallup. This isn't a rebuild. This is a retool. This is taking a step back, looking at your roster, understanding where you can improve, where you can create space. And I hate it, but I think the writing was on the wall. We knew this 2 years ago when they didn't restructure Cooper last year. You kind of got the feeling that it's Cooper or Gallup, and they went with Gallup. So super interested to see what happens in the next couple weeks, and then this should be a really interesting draft. Really super interested to see what happens, which you always are, but this has been an interesting offseason already. So anyhow, that's all I got. I know this is only interesting to Cowboy fans. My card family does not give 2 cents about all of this, and that's fine. I like to get all of this stuff off my chest and kind of document where I was at, and where I'm feeling, and what I'm thinking. It's good. It's good to have. One day I'll go back and look at all this and say, like, man, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But that's why, again, I'm on the way to work and barely have enough time to make a video. Anyhow, appreciate y'all watching. Keep it real. I'm out.